Hey everyone, my name is Rooster, and welcome back to Mechabellum. In today's video, I want to showcase the Wraith. It's a unit that hasn't really been touched too much in recent patches, but it is still an absolute powerhouse in low-range situations. Now, the opponent for this game is going to be K, who is a very, very strong player. I believe around 2.2k MMR, which at the start of the season is exceptionally high. And looking at the packs, I had some good options. The spider options were both very solid, but I could see in the background that there was no mid-wall, and when there's no mid-wall, I do not mind defending whatsoever. So I decided to go for the Sledgehammer pack here, which is kind of the quintessential defensive pack, if you will. Now, because I have a wall plus an anti-armor cannon on the left, I decided to double stack my units on the right because, you know, this is fully open, and typically you would expect the opponent here to push into the undefended tower. Of course, my opponent knows this, and therefore they decide to kind of call a bit of a bluff and push into my buildings nonetheless. It's a risky move. If I happen to be on the left here, or I have something there, it will be very difficult for them to push in because, you know, this can act like two units, especially in that early game. But it seems like, you know, they'll be able to get away with it here. I decided to go for double Void Eye. It's one of my favorite early game DPS options, exceptionally powerful, very good against things like Hounds, good against Sabers, good against Spider. It does mean that I will need to get some anti-air round 2, typically something like Phoenix, but, you know, I don't mind that too much. Now, the one downside I may have here is, even though I did stack my units and, you know, I'm pushing into the right side tower, I am doing so more slowly. Sledgehammers are not very fast, neither are Void Eyes. If my opponent decides to get a tower enhancement here at some point, my DPS is not the best either. So taking down that tower might cost me. I'll have to find a way of somehow, you know, being able to build around my foundation of buildings and try to stall that left side attack. As you can see, I get debuffed first, although on the first round here, that's not that big of a deal. Most of my units, apart from these sledges in the middle, have gone over all the way to the right. We take down their anti-armor cannon, and now we're pushing in towards their first tower. Debuff here ever so slightly better, although we do get pulled a bit towards the middle, and seems like the Sabers will recover by the time they arrive. Now, if you look here in the bottom right, there's actually a Hound plus Fang combo attacking my tower. My Void Eyes are doing their best. We did take down at least one Saber here, but ooh, the tower hit points dwindling. It will go down. Seems like it doesn't end up mattering too much though, as the Sledgehammer kills the enemy Sabertooth with its dying breath. So round 1 we do manage to win, but it's about as close as it could possibly be. Round number 2, there are some unit variants offered. I'm not too interested. My opponent picks up extended range Phoenix and immediately buys one. Now, this is a very common play. If either one of you is playing aggro, round 2 Phoenix is one of probably the most played lines that you will encounter. It is just ultra solid. Of course, you can win the round by default if your opponent forgets to grab sufficient anti-air. And yeah, it's a fast unit. It gets a ton of DPS for its cost, and it's flying, as I mentioned. So in these type of scenarios, especially in crossfires where you have to move around the map a lot, that speed can be fantastic. So I go for a Phoenix as well. Again, it's not the variant. I didn't really care about it. Not picking the variant here did allow me to go for a Fire Badger. I was hoping that it would be able to stall and maybe kill a bit more chaff, but as you can see, that's not really the case, and it ends up dying, you know, after only taking down half a Fang pack. Not exactly worth, but maybe we can build around it and give it a little bit of a more solid front line next round. We do get debuffed here. Right side still doing fine. Hopefully we'll be able to grab a debuff here and again kind of abuse that timer. Nothing goes to my tower this time around, so that second debuff won't come through. We kill the middle turret. Now we've got Phoenixes lined up with those Sabers. Now that pack of Fangs, though, is arriving, and my chaff there, which up to now is only 2 Sledgehammers, so not fantastic, is struggling a little bit, but it seems like we have too many small units for their Phoenixes to get through, and we even managed to pick up a level there on our Phoenixes. Lovely stuff. Round number 3, double blue crawler shows up, something you don't often see because usually people will at least have, you know, a crawler on one side of the board. I decided to go for the Stormcaller here. I don't care too much about the crawlers. It would have been a fine pickup though, I would say, especially into the low level Hounds. could be annoying, but I like this Stormcaller because of the front fang and the slow sabers. If I go for something like oil at some point, perhaps I could slow them down, although I do have the Fire Badger, I guess. But level 2 Stormcaller is just a ton of DPS, and with, you know, the chaff being added here, hopefully I can stall and take down some of these tanks. Opponent does get access to their Sabertooth, so the third one here in the corner. Crawler goes on the shallow flank, and one all the way in the back. I do decide to put my Fire Badger, which I also received thanks to my specialist, all the way in the top left flank, hoping to pull these fangs and maybe pull, you know, whatever may be back there, like this Crawler, and kind of kill some of their chaff down the line. It's a good tactic to use if you're defending. Pulling away part of the chaff can be useful, as it tends to open up more possibilities to hit their, you know, their bigger targets. We see a Hound on the flank as well. Range has now been picked up, and at this point, I was saying to myself, well, I was hoping that I could maybe get to play Fire Badger with something like Range and Scorch, because the current meta I don't often get to. But then I took a look at the enemy Hound bar, and I saw that they had armor enhancement, and I thought to myself, yeah, maybe we don't try to go for for Fire Badgers in this case, because I don't want to end up having to play against armor. If you've never played Fire Badgers, I can tell you, armor completely wrecks them. It's a unit that has very, very low attack value, and because of that, armor is super efficient against them. Even level 1 armor is a nightmare. I believe level 1 Fire Badger with Scorch can't even get through level 1 armor, so it's pretty bad. And with that, my mind immediately went to, well, the Wraith. Felt like was the only other option here that would work down the line. It's a very strong contender against things like Hounds, and my opponent didn't have the strongest anti-air for the time being against Wraith. Of course, Phoenix can't contest it, but it doesn't have access to those anti-air techs like Marksman and Farseer, and because of that, I usually don't mind playing Wraith into Phoenix that much. I know that long term I should be able to outscale, and typically my Phoenixes should do fine. Now, this time around, the late Fang does mess us up, and it's going to be a win for K. Very back and forth. I mean, look at how little hit points we lost in those first 3 rounds as we now enter the 4th. Round number 4, Wasp Swarm shows up, Smoke Bomb shows up. I thought to myself, maybe I would want to try and use the Smoke Bomb, but I didn't care for it too much as my opponent was pushing in anyway, and I didn't have that many units on the left side. So I decided to just skip there, I believe, and, you know, try and use all my money. Now, ideally, I would immediately get into level 2 Wraith with range if I could. So what I'm going to do here is do a bit of a setup turn. Use the oil because I do have access to that. Try and light it on fire with my Fire Badger. Kill as much as I can. And then next round, I will set up for the Wraith. Hopefully, you know, keeping a little bit of money in the bank this turn and being able to use that next round for a big round. I will go for double Wasp in this scenario because I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to go Wraith, Wasp is a nice way to try and protect it, right? Phoenixes will struggle against it. Marksman struggles against it. If I can bait out something like Mustang, I don't mind that either. Wraith is pretty capable of fighting those units. So that was my thoughts here. It also protects the flank, and, you know, we might even be able to get away with a round win. As you see, I keep 200 in the bank in this instance. And my opponent goes for a shield, does pick up the smoke, which will sadly cover our Stormcallers as well as the Fire Badger. But he did have to get a loan for that on round 4, which is very, very early. So I am kind of expecting him to try and recover next round, but he won't have many resources to make a play with. So, you know, considering we were kind of trying to go for a small turn, and he's going for a big one this turn, next round roles will be reversed, and, you know, hopefully it'll be the perfect timing for us to get that Wraith. Wasp here doing a good job. We do get debuffed, sadly, as I don't have much in front of my tower on that left side. Looks like top left, opponent decided to just block my Badger with the help of a shield. Good way to do so. And let's see, what can we achieve? If I can take down these Sabers, or at least, you know, part of them, I'd be quite happy. The tower has been leveled, but the level 2 Phoenixes should be able to get through that. They do. 7 seconds of debuff. That should allow us to maybe get through most of the sabers. We take down 2. I will happily take that round. That is not a bad result at all. Round number 5, Orbital Bombardment shows up. I thought, well, maybe if they had more Phoenixes on the left, I would go for it. But, you know, on round 5, it's unlikely that it comes back. We would have to wait until round 10 for it to recycle. So instead, I go for the intensive training because, as I said, I really wanted to get level 2 Wraith on the board. And now I don't have to elite recruit. I can just buy 2 and make 1 level 2 with the help of that spell. And look at that, right? Really, really good money here. We have 250 left after buying 2 Wraith, getting range, leveling up 1 of them. And I'm going to try and face it near the flank. Now, I'm setting up for some chaff eventually in the front, maybe something like steel balls, which is the classic pairing, but it is very good against things like sabers. That was my idea. Now, for the time being, I didn't want this Phoenix to get pulled towards the left, at least for as long as I could prevent it from doing so. So instead of putting a crawler right here, which I do want down the line, I'm going to put a crawler here on the flank to try and, you know, kind of slow down the saber from moving into my tower and buying some time for my Wraith. Because for the time being, I don't have amazing chaff clear. No, I have amazing chaff clear. I don't have amazing DPS, right? All of it kind of has to come from my Wraith, which will take a little bit of time. So yeah, you can see here, I try to make sure the Phoenixes keep going forward instead of getting pulled towards that left. I do add 1 Wraith on the right side just to try and help out with the chaff clear and push into that tower a bit faster. Wasps are getting in front of my Wraith, which is lovely. Now, it does look like I will eventually lose my tower once more. Maybe I should have leveled it at least once. We'll have to see. Right side, we are slowly getting in. Saber, though, will grab that tower. Even if it was level 2 there, it would have gone down at a bad timing. So I don't think it matters too much. Wraith, sadly, does perish. But I have 1 more left, and I do have a pack of level 3 Phoenixes on the right. Decent debuff. Wraith will help chaff clear, and hopefully we can take out a good portion here of the enemy army again. Does seem to be the case. We will at least kill the Saber. Sadly, the tower falls again, though, and that will be another round going the way of K, but, you know, it was a bit of a setup round. 3.4k hit points remaining. Round number 6, I wasn't too happy about these unit drops. I was looking for Steel Ball specifically, or something of the sort. None of this really helps me. Tarantula is chaff clear. I already have good enough chaff clear. Scorpion is fine, but it's not exactly great against higher level sabers. Melting Point, same thing. You know, it's not good against most of these units, and it will likely just get stuck on chaff and retarget way too slowly. So I decide to go for the Scorpion because it sells for the most. I sell 1 of them, keep the other one around. Hopefully it can kind of contribute some DPS. And as you can see, my opponent picks them up as well, and immediately, respecting those Wraith, goes for AA Farseer, which I think is a really good pivot. A lot of people here will just try and, you know, invest into the Phoenixes, but that can be a mistake, at least in my opinion. I also prefer going for either Marksman or Farseer whenever I can, and whenever I see my opponent going into Wraith, because that prioritized targeting is super, super important. Now, round number 6, we do elite recruit again, and we go for double blue steel ball alongside a blue Wraith here on the right. As you can see, I am trying to avoid that high-level Phoenix pack kind of as much as possible, and dealing with the flank and also kind of pushing in from the diagonal, aiming for this Sabertooth. Now, the steel ball is kind of undefended for the time being. I do want to add some crawlers there eventually, but again, I don't have the deployments for now. Let's see, though, how this goes. 8-gun Wraith, also very important here, but it's expensive. And I do need to make sure I have some other units. Seems like the steel balls, though, go down very, very quickly. I mean, they don't have much in terms of chaff to protect them, so I'm not too surprised. But I was hoping they would last a little bit longer. Right side Wraith doing well. Stormcallers helping out. I will end up selling them at some point there. Sadly, my missile does get triggered. Right side, that Farseer does very well. And it seems like, again, it's going to be a round win for K. And at this point, I might dip below 2k. I mean, I most certainly will, with 2 Farseers and a bunch of Phoenixes still alive. So hopefully we can turn things around rapidly, because I can't take too many more of these rounds. And of course, my opponent is snowballing with every win, getting more experience. That can become a problem in terms of, you know, Farseers getting to almost one-shot Wraith at some point. Round number 7, Incendiary Bomb shows up. I decide to pick it up as well. I wasn't too interested in the other cards. I'm not planning to play Giants here. I'm going to use the Fire on the right side. I was expecting him to shield. And honestly, Fire doesn't do too much here for me unless I can land it like right on top of his units. But the Wraith should be plenty of chaff clear. As you can see, we even get floating artillery array. So we should be completely fine. I add 2 crawlers here next to the steel balls to kind of try and protect them. I buy another Wraith as well. This time around, kind of in the middle. It is slightly further back compared to the other ones, as you can see, because again, I am trying to make sure it doesn't get locked by this high-level Phoenix. I do level it with our intensive training. I do start loaning now on round 7, and I take enhanced range, which is super important when you're playing Wraith. You know, around round 6 or 7, try to take temporary range every single round because it makes a massive difference. Opponent also goes for the Wraith in this instance. I was a bit surprised about this, but it is one of my preferred ways, if not my preferred way, period, to deal with something like steel balls, especially if I'm expecting mech div. But going for the degen beam there, I was a bit surprised about, because it means that it's going to make it a lot harder for my opponents to get into range. And currently I have, you know, 2 battle tech advantages over them. And I wasn't feeling too scared here. The Fire sadly does land. The Farseers do a good job of cleaning up my Wraith. We do manage to win that right side, though. Hopefully we can at least finish off some of these units. Ugh, doesn't quite look like it, though. Bad tower timing there. And again, double Farseer, quad Phoenix, still alive. I'm looking down at 1,200 hit points remaining. We need to turn things immediately here. Round number 8, another intensive training shows up. Not a bad idea at all. I do decide to pick it. The Amp Core, not bad either. Stormcaller here is worth selling. It's not really part of the comp anymore. It was fine when I was trying to stall, but now I've turned things around and I'm kind of headbutting the opponent, right? Which is typically not a situation where Stormcaller is that happy. Also, the Sabers have been getting sold, so there's not even that much on the ground to hit. So better to invest that money into something else. I do get the second attack enhancement here. And now I'm thinking, well, what do I want to do with 1,650 resources? I want to get some anti-air. So I go for a Farseer myself, because, well, my opponent didn't go range on their Wraith, and they're honestly in pretty vulnerable spots. So I pick up the level with the intensive training we got, and I level up that Farseer that's in front of the higher level Wraith, and then I put the level 1 in front of the level 1. Because of the way that AA works, we might even be able to get close to insta-locks here. I'm trying to aid that by missiling these crawlers. And I am going to go for double shields, just in case my opponent decides to use the smoke on the left side. They use it on the right. That's not too bad of a situation, I think. I was mostly worried about the Farseers getting hit. Can't have that happen, so I do have to invest into the shields here. Again, loaning, temp range has been picked up. Levels on the Wraith where possible. And I'm not really caring too much about that right side. Using my oil over there to slow them down. But it's really now about that left side. And you can see here, immediate lock-ons by those Farseers. That helps a ton. That degen beam is very powerful, but again, it does mean that there's no range for the time being on the Wraith, and it makes it easy for them to get taken out. Looks like we're doing a bit better here. Honestly, those Wasps are providing a lot of time, buying a lot of time for my army. Farseer can deal with them, but they're not exactly fast at getting rid of them. So it's a good thing to remember when you're playing Wraith and your opponent goes Farseer. Don't be too afraid to buy a couple of Wasps. It really does help. And look at that. We get the tower debuff, and with the AA Farseer, we take down the Phoenixes as well. And we manage to strike back and send K down to 3.3k hit points. Still, we're down 2k hit points, but I'm feeling a little bit better about the situation. Round number 9. And we get more unit reinforcements. Tarantula Arclight, not really worth it here. Again, my chaff clear is impeccable. Melting Point is fine, but there's nothing really that I need to kill at this point. I've got Steel Balls. I've got AA Farseer to deal with the Wraith. So I'm just going to pick up the Rhinos and try to kind of deal with this diagonal. Because I was looking at this, and well, the Sabers got sold. So honestly, there wasn't too much on the board there that would be able to deal with the 2 Rhinos. So I could definitely push in there with a beacon. And I decided to go for ultimate tankiness by leveling up one of the rhinos to level 3, grabbing that armor enhancement for extra hit points. And yeah, sadly, opponent there moves their melting point from this position to that position, which is not ideal. They also go for a double missile, which I was very surprised about. I guess that's to try and, you know, maybe deal with an interceptor. I did put down a shield, so hopefully that just blocks the missile, period. We'll have to see how this goes. Not ideal, though, with the melter right in front of our rhinos, but hey, it's definitely worth a try. As you can see, I will also pick up more wasp, as I mentioned. Good thing to do. I'm putting one here in front of this wraith in case these crawlers get missiled. And just kind of trying to use them to block any insta-locks that could happen from the phoenixes or the farseers. Opponent now does go range on the wraith, but whether or not that will work, you can see here that left side wraith is getting immediately locked on by the farseer, and this one also gets locked on very quickly. I mean, that's why AA is so strong. Steel balls seem to survive a little bit longer this time, actually getting a couple of lock-ons. But yeah, the rhinos, sadly, I think they even got slowed there despite the shield. And we're not doing too well. Although I say we're not doing too well, the middle is getting through. That level 3 melter got taken down regardless. And now that right side army that I haven't been doing too much with just keeps on winning. Debuff there is fantastic. And, you know, despite our unit drop not working out at all and kind of getting countered, it seems like we're in a really, really good spot. Opponent now down to 1400. We've basically equalized. And round number 10, I mean, nano repair kit looked fine, but, you know, honestly, I was just going to pick up that haste module for the bonus attack on a wraith. Can't really complain about that. They are the heroes of this match after all. Having a look at the damage dealt there. Very, very good. Third on damage, second on damage, and maybe the phoenixes are top on damage. They are. Kind of silent heroes in the back. No techs, but 400k damage dealt. And yeah, here I'm just going to start selling my high-level rhino. No point in it being around. Opponent picks up that nano on their high-level melter. And they also go for 8 gun on their wraith. Now, I thought this was a bit of an odd play because, you know, 2 of their wraith were getting insta-locked, basically. So, while it's, you know, triple tech wraith is great, it's not that amazing when you're getting insta-locked and 2 of them die, right? So the additional wraith is gonna be nice, but these 2 are essentially non-existent. I do level my farseers in this case. I do go for more steel balls, and I go for mechanical division because my opponent didn't have amazing chaff clear. Again, I know they have wraith, but really they're not there. They get killed in the first like 5 seconds of combat. More wraith get picked up, one on the flank. A little bit scary. I do have a wasp there, but crawler gets put in front, so I don't think we'll be able to kill this in the time it takes for it to spawn in. We'll have to see if we can get through the front line as quick as possible. I am putting down some missile interceptors here to try and catch the enemy missiles. And yeah, I mean, look at that, right? 1 wraith immediately down. This one also, as I said, gets insta-locked, and that's 2 wraith down already. The flank has spawned in. The crawlers have died. The wraith is there, but it doesn't get beaconed into my tower, and therefore decides to go for my farseer, which is not a battle it is going to enjoy. The steel balls also managed to make their way through. That melter wasn't a problem whatsoever. The right side tower is under fire, and it will fall. And, well, the left side tower is only level 1, so 9 seconds of debuff later, and we do manage to win this game. Very back and forth. A little bit scary, I guess, at the start. There was, of course, a little bit of the mind games going on with the round 1 placement, but we managed to at least pressure the tower consistently in the late game, as my opponent didn't put down as many resources. And we managed to use the wall and the anti-armor cannon well to kind of support a foundation until we are able to transition into the eventual Wraith. I would have liked to be able to play Badger here, but, you know, you have to realize that if the opponent has something like armor on their hounds, it's just not a good matchup. And that's also part of Mechabellum, right? Kind of looking at what the opponent has and trying to think about what can they possibly do later on that would mess up my comp. Wraith, ultra powerful. Such a strong unit. I mean, look at the damage dealt, right? I think eventually it was still the Phoenixes that were top on damage. They were, only by a smidge, although I say that, about 100k, I guess, above that Wraith. But man, the unit kills are through the roof. This one killing 408. It is a powerhouse. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below what you thought of this game and what you think of Wraith. Have you been playing it or not at all? If you want to stay up to date with my latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.